Good morning, lifestyle is health. It's Friday already. I don't know where this week has gone. It just seems to have flown by. Nicole's agreeing with me. Hi, YouTube watchers as well. So I am really delighted today to join you guys and me with a wonderful lady called Nicole Kurtz. Now, we've had a great conversation. We've only met once online, but what she does is worth sharing with you guys, because I'm sure some of you will absolutely love what she's offering in her group. So, Nicole, how are you today, sweet?
Yeah, good. I'm actually knackered this week, although it's gone really quick, has felt like really long. I don't know if it's just me.
No, I think it's just been one of those weeks. I'm definitely feeling it, and everybody that I've spoken to so far this morning has said the same. So honestly think a lot of this changeable weather's got to do with it as well. So we met at a networking event, didn't we? And it was kind of suggested that we connect because what we do is very similar but different. And this is the joy of why there's space for all of us. So tell people who are listening just what actually is a body positive coach. What do you do and how do you help people?
Well, I suppose it's like a mixture of a few things, really. So, like, my main kind of goal working with clients as a one-to-one coach is obviously to boost body confidence. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people, especially over the last year and a half, have really struggled with like self-confidence, body image, mental health issues, and obviously what you do as well, Vicky, obviously like eating disorders and things like that. Yeah. So what I do is I work with clients on a one-to-one basis, and we kind of go through all the traumas and experiences that have kind of led up to the low self-esteem and the body confidence issues. So like for me, I'm very much in the principle that like self-esteem, like low self-esteem and body confidence issues is not something people are born with. No. It's something that they've experienced, and so it's about getting to the heart of the experiences and helping them to heal and rebuild and just find that that confidence to get themselves back to where they want to be, or become the people that they don't realize they can become.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, because I think a lot of people think that being positive about your body is just kind of like saying, oh, I love it no matter what. And it's not that, is it? It's a little bit more in depth than that. And as you said, it's not something, feeling unhappy or uncomfortable or not confident in yourself is not something that we're born with. So when people come to you, do they kind of get a bit confused and think that you're going to tell them to lose weight?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, actually, I find that most people that do approach me come to me with, it's very much their most, insecurities is, it's always weight related. So I do think that they do come with the initial thing, well, actually, if I lose weight, then once I've lost the weight, then I'll be happy.
Right.
And it just doesn't work that way. No. It's about the process of, if you can't enjoy and love yourself now, or if you're mentally at your worst, how can you ever expect to love yourself when you're feeling at your best if you don't go through that process?
And it's really important that you've made that really, really clear. And it's not just people wanting to lose weight, is it? It's people who are maybe naturally very, very skinny, and they don't fit into this idea of a stereotype. It's any size, any shape, any gender. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, actually, I've been working with this lovely girl. I mean, she's younger than I am, and she's around 25. And actually, she's naturally quite slender, but she's really insecure about, her self-esteem and her body. And that's because I think as you age, you kind of have this mentality of yourself when you were younger. And she really struggled to come to terms with the change that actually the body just changes naturally. And so, hips become curvier, and obviously, other parts of the woman's body do change. So for her, it was just the struggle with the idea that, her body wasn't the same as it was when she was a teenager. It's, she's aged and it's natural. But when you have that mental image and it was slight body dysmorphia as well.
Right.
But the process with her has been amazing because, there is that kind of stigma that if you're thin, that you're happy. That's not necessarily true.
And this is right, and it's a stigma and it's a stereotype, isn't it? And we see it everywhere, especially now we've got this whole coming out of lockdown, and all over social media, you're seeing it, you know, drop the COVID pounds, or, you know, drop the COVID stone, or whatever the heading happens to be, or get fit before you meet up with your friends. And there's this pressure, isn't there, that for us to feel confident to go back out in society and socialize again, that somehow we need to change our body shape in some way. When you're talking to people about what their issues are, how does it work when they approach you? So do you just have a conversation with them on the phone, or do you do what we're doing and have a video chat with them? How does it work if somebody wanted to know how to work with you and what it's going to be like?
Well, usually we'll do like a 1 hour enlightenment call. So we like to have a chat, and I like to really get to know the people I work with. It's really important to kind of understand the journey that they need to get on. They need to find out where they are now. So it is really important. I like to be very personalised. I really like to get to know the people. I really want to know their stories and how they got to feel the way they are, because I think, one, it's important for people to be able to feel that they're listened to, because actually I think a lot of the people I work with don't get the time of day to actually be able to take 5 minutes to talk about themselves. True. And I think it's also important because I think it becomes like a realisation for themselves to know that actually they are struggling that much. And doing the coaching with me, it's such a relief to be able to just say, actually, I'm really struggling with this. No one's ever listened to me or believed me before. And actually, I think from my own experiences, no one ever believed me with my issues. So it's almost like a weight's lifted off your shoulder when you can just take 5 minutes to say, actually, this is the issues that I have. Thank you so much for actually letting me be able to speak. So yeah, I really do like to take the time to do those enlightenment calls so I can get to know people. If they want to work with me, you know, that's fine. If they don't, then, you know, at least they've had a chance to be able to have a chat and we can share different bits and bobs.
Absolutely. So, and this is the thing, if you are watching, folks, I would love you to say hi. I know there's 4 of you watching. Someone's giving us a thumbs up. Let us know who you are and if you're watching, and if you've got any questions that perhaps you want to ask Nicole, pop them in, because we can see them. So what I think it's really important as well that you've shared there, it is actually Mental Health Awareness Week, and one of the things that we're trying to get across to everybody is something that you've just said, is to talk about this stuff. And I think the thing when it comes to what I do and what you do, it's very similar, because I'm talking about the way that, you know, people may be eating in secret or drinking in secret and maybe throwing up or exercising like a lunatic because they're punishing themselves in some way, and there's the shame, isn't there, and there's the guilt of admitting that they're doing these, what they may think that you will judge as weird and odd behaviors, but also actually admitting to yourself, as you say, when you hear yourself saying it in a conversation with somebody else, that actually I am really, really struggling. And the key is that with you and I, that we've been through it, haven't we? Yeah. We know what they're feeling like. And so there is no judgment at all. Do you want to tell people a little bit about why you decided to do this in the first place?
Yeah, actually, it's been a really interesting journey for me, because I struggled with my self-esteem and my relationship with food for 23 years. It was a really long time and a really long journey, and I'd been through like abusive relationships, both like with friends and in obviously loving relationships. I say loving, but they weren't very. And I really struggled, and you know, I'd been to doctors, and no one, as I said earlier, ever took me seriously, because I just feel like doctors just don't understand mental health as well as they should. And I suffered with depression and anxiety, and I used to, I'm still recovering now. I'm in recovery, which is why I feel like I can relate to people so much, for binge eating disorder. And I'm still working on that. And yeah, it was a really long struggle of just doctors, you know, telling me that because I was big, that, you know, there was no way I could ever have an eating disorder, because the stigma behind it is that it's one size fits all. An eating disorder, you must be underweight, and that's a lot of the people I've spoken to actually are different sizes who struggle. And it was like doctors telling me that I was terminally fat and I should starve myself because it would, you know, I could fix myself, and you know, just stop thinking about it and it will just go away. And I just became so low, and I became so depressed, and I had, you know, breakdowns, and my mental health was all over the place. And it was because I discovered really that actually the problems I was having were caused by an eating disorder. And it was like I said, like the weight being lifted off my shoulder.
Absolutely.
And honestly, like from having that and experience everything I have over the last, I mean, I could talk for hours if I went through my whole story, but we haven't got enough time for that. But it's it's because of everything I've experienced, both through my own eyes and from having to watch others suffer, that it's made me want to do what I do now, and I'm very passionate about it.
Well, this is why I wanted to get you on here, because obviously we had such a conversation and we connected so well, and we're both so passionate about what we do, because we know that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are struggling with this stuff and are thinking that it's to do with willpower, or that it's their fault, or they get helpful doctors like yours telling them that they're terminally fat and they need to just get over it and deal with it, which is just absolute load of rubbish, as we know. But it makes you then feel even worse. And it's interesting what you said there, because and this was, you know, very similar. Our stories are not dissimilar at all, because when you don't feel confident in yourself, you become very much of a people pleaser, but you also allow people to abuse you in ways that, you know, in hindsight, now you've got that confidence, you just go, how on earth did I let that happen? But at the time when you're in it, it just seems so normal, and you don't realize just what exactly is going on. But that is why it's so important to bring this out into the open, because it affects relationships with friends, it affects them with family, it affects with, as you say, partners. And we ask ourselves, why do I always end up with nasty people? It must be me. And it's like, well, it is partly you, but it's to do with your background and your history and your beliefs and your trauma and all of that stuff. And only when we can unravel that can you start to step into being your true, confident you. But it's a process, as you said. So you're still going through it. So if people work with you, do you have a program that's a set length of time, or do you very much just see how the person does, and it's absolutely a bespoke journey?
I think obviously, again, it depends on the people that I work with, because I try to personalize it quite obviously to the individual. I do kind of have some programs which are set to 6 weeks or 12 weeks, but then again, it's not necessarily we're done in that time. If people want to keep going, then that's obviously dependent on the person, because everyone's different. It's you know, I can't set one journey for you know, the masses, because that's just not how it works. But I think it's nice to get into the idea of saying, okay, well, if we do it in a set amount of time, then it gives people a chance to feel comfortable, and then obviously if they want to keep going, then it gives them the chance to keep going as well. So it's very individualized.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about how you have found this whole COVID experience. So obviously you've gone online, as just about everybody has, but did you do face-to-face before this, or tell us a little bit more about what you've been up to in COVID and how it's affected you, positively or negatively, or a bit of both?
Well, actually, like, as I said, it's been a really kind of massive journey for me in COVID, because actually I only started my business in the middle of COVID, and everyone thought I was insane. Genuinely, my family said you're insane. And I was in education for 10 years, so I'd worked with children for 10 years, special educational needs, infants, and behaviour institutes as well. And I think I found it was so difficult being in a situation where I couldn't help, because obviously the power was completely taken away. So I really wanted to get into a career where I felt like I could make a difference. And obviously I don't want to give up my childcare, you know, qualifications and experience at all. You know, I want to keep pushing that further. I want to get back into schools, and I want to spread the word of what I'm doing, but with younger kids. And because obviously, especially with eating disorders, the best treatment for it is prevention. Absolutely. So I want to get and educate the young people as well. I say young people, I sound like I'm older.
No, but you're absolutely right, because this stuff starts when we are young. We know 0 to 7 is when we start to actually, you know, pick up our beliefs and our values from the people around us and the environment that we're in and what we're hearing, what we're watching, and all that kind of good stuff. So it makes sense that this stuff needs to be brought out into the open and talked about when kids are really, really young, but also educating the parents as well, because they don't necessarily realize that just kind of glib comment that they came out with, even if it's not towards their own child, but towards another child or another adult or something they've seen on the TV, goes in and you don't forget it. And this is why it's so powerful that, you know, if we can get this stuff into schools, then both you and I will be absolutely delighted.
It's really interesting. If you watch young children in particular, between like 3 to 5 years, where they role play the experiences they have at home.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see.
Absolutely, and they have no filters. They just say it as it's been said, as they've heard it, and this is where we get a real true picture. Because obviously, when we're talking to adults and we start to kind of censor the way that we speak and what we actually say, well, better not say that just in case they think this, all of that. Then we start to dilute the truth, don't we? And that's when it gets harder as an adult to kind of admit to yourself, because you're so used to telling those kind of white lies that you're not even actually sure what is the truth anymore. As you say, we could talk about this for absolutely forever. But tell me, are you going to be going out and meeting up with people anytime soon? Now everything changes on Monday. What are your plans?
Well, I've booked to see my parents at the end of May, because obviously my husband's going to take some time off. He hasn't left the area for well over a year. Yeah, right. I haven't seen my parents properly since last year, so I'm very excited to go and see them and go and annoy them for a week. So,
so you're going to take a proper break?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to still be working, but I'll just be working in their house rather than
in a different environment.
That's the beauty of working remotely. I can take my work with me, which is great.
Absolutely fabulous. So Nicole, tell us, because you have a Facebook group, don't you? You have a private Facebook group, and you also have your Facebook page. So how do people find your group? What's it called on Facebook?
So my Facebook page, my Facebook group, is called Body Positivity, the Judgment-Free Zone.
Nice.
And that's just a place where people can just throw pictures on there, ask advice, and it's just like a nice community to be able to just chat with like-minded people. Okay. And my Facebook page is Nicole Kurtz, the Body Confidence Coach.
Excellent. So if people can find you either via your personal page or have a little look at your group. Are you also on LinkedIn, Nicole?
I am, yes. I'm just under my name, Nicole Kurtz. So
brilliant. Excellent. So lots of ways to get in touch with Nicole and have one of those conversations with her, because I am absolutely certain you will be glad that you did. Nicole, it's been a joy. Thank you so much for joining me for coffee time. And I will look forward to catching up and having a much longer chat with you very, very soon. Have a lovely weekend. Thanks. Bye.